Hello my friends, welcome back to Polly's Paper Studio. You are watching day 3 of our 13 days of Halloween series. If you're just joining in, you can find links to the first 2 videos in the top of the description so you can get caught up. For today's project, we are going to be visiting my favorite Dollar Tree, picking up some fun chalkboard easels and turning them into a farmhouse inspired holiday decor piece. So stick with me and we'll make this together. This project is starting with a dollar store easel frame. I picked this up from the Dollar Tree and it has a nice base so that it will stand up nicely and support itself. This is the natural color that it comes in, which isn't bad. I did want more of a farmhouse look though, so I went ahead and I painted my frame just in a flat white acrylic paint, and then I painted the back as well. I'm going to leave this portion here with a covering of just some pretty buffalo plaid. That will give it a finished look on the back. So now what you want to do is prime your chalkboard area to look more like an authentic chalkboard. And what I mean by that is when you get a real chalkboard, it has some imperfections, so chalk will get caught in the curves and grooves and the texture and could become sort of permanent if you don't wash it with water. So what I want to do is I want to prime this by rubbing a chalk all over the front of it and then rubbing most of it back off, and the texture will hold the chalk residue so that it looks more like an actual chalkboard that you write on. I tested it with this one first. I don't know how well that shows on camera, but it definitely does look authentic in real life. So what I did was I just took this little piece of chalk that my guys had from their workout room. It's just the most pitiful little thing, but it will work for this purpose just fine. And I'm going to rub it all over the surface of this so that I can get a good coating and that chalk will settle into the texture. This is just a patterned like vinyl, so it's not an actual chalkboard paint, but it will still have the same effect. So I'm going to go ahead and rub that all over here, and I'm getting into the corners as best I can. So this part does get a little bit messy, so make sure you are prepared for that. Now once you get a good coating, you want to come back in. I'm going to use some like wax deli paper. I'm going to rub most of it off, and what will remain is what gets caught in the texture. So now I've got that primed. I don't know if that shows up as well, but what it does is it gives it more of an authentic look. I chose my deli paper over like a soft cloth because I didn't want that cloth to get down into the texture and remove that base layer of chalk that we've added. So now that this is all set to go, I'm going to bring in the few embellishments that I have. I think if I prop that up on my camera battery, that will be easier to see. Yeah, that works. So what I did was I took my Cricut cartridge. I have the old school Cricut that you have to have cartridges for, and this is the font that I picked, the Plantin School Book. I chose to cut 31 for Halloween, and I picked the shadow option. Now, you guys that have the computer Cricuts, you can just get on and get a good font and get your numbers that way, but this worked for now, and I picked a very nice little plaid to go along with my farmhouse look, and I'm going to add these right to my chalkboard. I popped them up on spacers, and so they'll have a little bit of dimension, and I'm just going to add these fairly close to the side because I'm adding a pretty large floral arrangement for the corner. I want to make sure I have room for that. And I'm just going all the way over to the edge. That will also help me get it lined up nicely. And so I'm just going to press that in place. And then I'll add my one. This was actually Christmas paper, by the way. And I just liked the scale of the plaid, so I'm just going to add that one here. So now I've got room for my flower arrangement, and I have created that with the flowers that I made while we were camping. This time I went for a very pumpkin-y orange. It isn't very stark and bright. It has a vintage appeal to it, so it will go better with our farmhouse look. And I finished that off with a berry stem top with a glittery effect, so it just has a little bit more detail. A couple of bits of netting here in the corner, that helps to fill it in. It adds a little sparkle and it breaks up the darkness of the arrangement. Otherwise, this is pretty much the arrangement I make for most of my projects. And then I did include a second pattern of the plaid, this time for my ribbon. This is a very big, bold check. This is going to go right down in the corner, and while I have it positioned here, I can overlap the bottom and run a little bit of it onto the base just to make sure that I have room to see my 31 very well. So I'm adding this with my hot glue so that I can make sure that it will stick down onto that chalkboard surface. Instead of adding green leaves for my holiday arrangements for Halloween, I did just go ahead and cut those with a nice black cardstock so it coordinates really well. Now I want to balance the bottom corner here, this is quite heavy, with a second smaller arrangement for the other corner, and I got just sort of one side of the arrangement because I don't want it to come down over here. I want it just to be for balance. So I put my second bow here, and then I swapped out the smaller star for a larger one, and that will be perfect in this corner. So I'll just add that. When you're working on these at home, you can see over the top of them much better. So I think I've got that positioned pretty well. There's a couple last details here, and that is just a few vintage buttons, and these had the string already in them, so that was quite fortunate. I'm gonna put 3 of them here at the top. Okay, that is all for our farmhouse inspired Halloween easel holiday decor. If you enjoyed this project, make sure you come back tomorrow for day 4 of our 13 days of Halloween series. Make sure you leave me a thumbs up and give me a comment. Don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe so that you will be alerted every time we add new content. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.